Welcome back to Midnight Murmurs, where stories come to life and dreams are just a whisper away. In today's video, we embark on a new adventure through time and space, where the past meets the present and the future is yet to be written. Our story tonight will take you on a journey of discovery, where secrets are uncovered and mysteries are solved. So sit back, relax, and let the soothing sounds of our tale carry you to a peaceful slumber. This is Midnight Murmurs, and this is your invitation to another dreamy adventure. Chapter 1: The Mysterious Island. Sophie had always been fascinated with adventure stories. As a child, she would read all sorts of books about treasure hunts, lost cities, and daring explorers. So, when she heard about a mysterious island that no one had ever visited, she couldn't resist the urge to go and explore it herself. The island was located somewhere in the Pacific Ocean, and it was said to be shrouded in mystery and danger. But Sophie was determined to uncover its secrets. She packed her bags and set off on a journey that would change her life forever. After days of sailing, Sophie finally caught a glimpse of the island in the distance. It was a rugged, rocky terrain with dense forests and steep cliffs that plunged down to the sea. She could feel her heart racing with excitement and anticipation as she approached the shore. As she set foot on the island, Sophie was struck by its eerie beauty. The air was thick with the scent of exotic flowers, and the trees towered over her like ancient guardians. She walked through the jungle, feeling a sense of wonder and awe as she discovered new and incredible things at every turn. But as the sun began to set, Sophie realized that she had lost her way. The jungle had grown thicker, and the path that she had been following had vanished. Panic set in as she realized that she was alone, stranded on the mysterious island with no way of finding her way back. As the darkness closed in around her, Sophie's mind raced with fear and uncertainty. But she knew that she had to find a way to survive, no matter what dangers lay ahead. And with that, she set off into the unknown, determined to uncover the island's secrets and make it back home alive. With a mix of excitement and apprehension, Sophie plunged further into the unknown terrain of the island, where she would soon encounter the unexpected. Chapter 2: The Enchanted Forest. As the sun began to set on the horizon, the group of adventurers found themselves at the edge of a dense forest. The trees towered over them, their branches entwined like fingers, casting an eerie shadow on the ground below. They had heard stories of this forest, tales of its enchantment and the dangers that lurked within. But they had no choice but to brave it if they were to find the answers they sought. Taking a deep breath, they entered the forest, each step bringing them deeper into the unknown. The sound of their footsteps echoed through the trees, the rustling of leaves and the chirping of birds the only other sounds that broke the silence. As they walked, they noticed the forest beginning to change. The trees grew thicker and the underbrush denser, making it difficult to see ahead. It was as if the forest was alive, shifting and changing with every step they took. The group walked for what felt like hours, but the sun had barely moved in the sky. They were lost in this enchanted forest, and it seemed as if there was no way out. Suddenly, they heard a sound that made them stop in their tracks. It was the sound of a woman singing, her voice sweet and melodic. They followed the sound, the singing growing louder with every step. Finally, they saw her. A woman with long golden hair and a flowing green dress stood in a clearing, her back to them. She continued to sing, unaware of their presence. They approached her cautiously, unsure of what to expect. As they got closer, the woman turned around and smiled at them, her eyes twinkling. "Welcome to the enchanted forest," she said. "I am the guardian of this land. What brings you here?" The group explained their quest to her, and the guardian listened intently. When they finished, she nodded thoughtfully. "I may be able to help you," she said. "But first, you must pass a test. Follow me." The group followed the guardian deeper into the forest, the trees growing even denser. Eventually, they reached a small clearing with a large oak tree in the center. The guardian instructed them to close their eyes and place their hands on the tree. Suddenly, the tree began to glow, its branches stretching out to surround the group. They felt a surge of energy course through them, a feeling of warmth and safety unlike anything they had experienced before. When the glow faded, the guardian smiled at them. "You have passed the test," she said. "The enchanted forest has deemed you worthy. I will help you on your quest, but be warned, the dangers you face will only grow greater from here." With that, the guardian led them deeper into the forest, her singing guiding their way. They had passed the first test, but they knew the journey ahead would not be easy. Chapter 3: The Mysterious Mansion. The sun had set by the time they reached the mansion. It was an enormous building with high walls surrounding it, making it impossible to see what was inside. The gates were locked, and there was no one around to let them in. As they stood outside, Sarah couldn't help but feel a sense of unease. The mansion looked abandoned, and the only sounds she could hear were the rustling of leaves in the wind. But she knew that they had to go in to find the next clue. After some searching, they found a hole in the wall that they could squeeze through. The inside of the mansion was even more impressive than the outside. The floors were made of marble, and the walls were adorned with intricate designs. But the eerie silence made the place seem haunted. As they walked through the mansion, they found a room with a large painting of a woman with piercing green eyes. It was as if the painting was following them with its gaze. Suddenly, the floorboards creaked, and they heard a faint whisper. They froze, wondering if someone was watching them. Then, a door opened, and a figure emerged from the darkness. It was an old woman who introduced herself as Mrs. Blackwood, the caretaker of the mansion. She had been expecting them. Mrs. Blackwood led them to a room filled with old books and maps. She explained that the mansion had been built by her ancestors, who were famous explorers. They had left behind a map to a hidden treasure, and it was up to Sarah and her friends to find it. The map was old and worn, but it led to a cave deep in the forest. Mrs. Blackwood warned them that the journey would not be easy and that they must be careful. With the map in hand, Sarah and her friends set off on their next adventure. They were excited to uncover the secrets of the cave and find the treasure that had been hidden away for so long. Little did they know, they were about to face their biggest challenge yet. Chapter 4: The Hidden Path. As the group continued to trek through the forest, the trees began to thin out, and the underbrush grew thicker. The ground grew more uneven, and they had to be more careful with each step. Suddenly, Isaac stopped in his tracks and peered through the trees. "Hey, guys," he whispered, motioning for them to come closer. "Look over there." They walked over to him and saw a narrow path that seemed to disappear into the thicket. It was so small that they might have missed it if Isaac hadn't spotted it. "What do you think?" Sarah asked, eyeing the path warily. "I don't know," said John. "It could lead anywhere." "But it might be a shortcut," Isaac said. After a brief discussion, they decided to take the path. As they ventured deeper into the thicket, the path became more treacherous. The underbrush was so thick that they had to crawl on their hands and knees at times. Despite the difficulty, they pressed on, trusting that the path would lead them to where they needed to go. After a while, the underbrush began to thin out, and the path widened. The group stood up and brushed themselves off, grateful for the reprieve. That's when they saw it, a beautiful, sparkling waterfall cascading down from the rocks above. The water was crystal clear, and the mist from the falls was cool and refreshing. "This is amazing," Sarah exclaimed, beaming with delight. "It's beautiful," John agreed, marveling at the sight. As they approached the falls, they noticed a small cave behind the waterfall. It was hidden from view, and they might have missed it if they hadn't been so close. "What do you think?" Isaac asked, pointing to the cave. Sarah and John looked at each other, then nodded. "Let's check it out," Sarah said, her eyes bright with curiosity. As they stepped into the cave, they were greeted by the sound of rushing water. They looked around and saw that the cave was lined with glowing crystals that reflected the light from the waterfall. The effect was breathtaking, and they were awestruck by the beauty of it. "Wow," John breathed. "I've never seen anything like this." "Me neither," Sarah said, her eyes wide with wonder. Isaac smiled, happy to have shared this experience with his friends. It was a moment they would always remember. As they continued through the cave, they noticed something glinting in the distance. It was a small object, and they couldn't quite make out what it was. As they drew closer, they realized that it was a small key. "This must be important," Sarah said, picking up the key. "But what is it for?" John asked, looking around. Isaac shrugged. "I guess we'll find out." With the key in hand, they left the cave and continued on their journey. Little did they know that the key would lead them to the next step of their adventure. Chapter 5: Finding Closure, the End of a Journey. As the sun began to set on the horizon, the air around me grew colder, and I felt a shiver run down my spine. I looked around, trying to make sense of my surroundings, but everything seemed to be fading away. The world around me turned to darkness, and I closed my eyes, taking a deep breath to calm my nerves. When I opened my eyes, I was no longer in the forest. I was standing in a large, empty room with stone walls and high ceilings. A single torch lit the room, casting flickering shadows on the walls. I couldn't help but feel a sense of unease, wondering where I was and what was going to happen next. As I looked around, I saw a figure standing in the shadows, watching me. It was a tall, cloaked figure with a face hidden in the shadows of the hood. I could feel its eyes piercing into me, as if it was trying to read my thoughts. "Who are you?" I asked, my voice trembling. The figure stepped forward, revealing a face that was both familiar and foreign at the same time. It was a face that I had seen in my dreams, but never in real life. "I am the keeper of dreams," the figure said, its voice deep and commanding. "I have brought you here to show you the power of your own mind." I didn't know what to say. I had always been fascinated by dreams and the idea that they could hold hidden messages and secrets, but I had never thought they could be so powerful. The keeper of dreams continued. "You have always had the power to control your own dreams, to shape them and make them into whatever you want them to be. But you have been too afraid to use that power. You have let your fears control you, instead of taking control of your own mind." I felt a sense of shame wash over me. The keeper of dreams was right. I had always been afraid of my dreams, afraid of what they might reveal about me and my deepest desires. "But it's not too late," the keeper of dreams said, placing a hand on my shoulder. "You can still learn to control your dreams, to use them to face your fears and overcome them." The keeper of dreams then vanished into the shadows, leaving me alone in the room. I took a deep breath, and as I exhaled, the torch flickered and went out, plunging me into darkness. But I wasn't afraid. I knew that I had the power to control my own mind and my dreams. I closed my eyes and took control, letting my mind take me on a journey that would change my life forever. Thank you for joining me for this storytelling journey. I hope this tale helped you relax and unwind. Don't forget to like and subscribe to my channel for more stories like this. And if you have any requests for future stories, feel free to leave them in the comments below. Remember, take some time to unwind and let your mind drift into peaceful dreams. Good night.